After the storm of her early success, Alanis Morissette stepped into a period of quiet reflection. The years had brought sharp lessons and unexpected turns, yet they left room for something steadier. By 2012, she was ready to share work that felt less like a declaration and more like an honest conversation. Her new album, Havoc and Bright Lights, carried that measured tone. It moved at its own pace, without the urgent edge of earlier records. Listeners first met the song in those opening tracks. It entered softly, almost as an afterthought at first hearing. A simple piano figure set the scene, followed by a voice that had learned to rest between phrases. The words spoke of protection and loyalty without raising volume or tempo. They described a kind of guardianship that did not demand attention, yet held its ground through every change. The arrangement stayed spare on purpose. Strings appeared only when needed, like light through a half-open door. This restraint gave the lyrics room to land. Commitment here sounded less like a vow shouted from a stage and more like a hand offered in ordinary daylight. Morissette had reached a point where she could trust the strength of that simplicity. Many who heard it for the first time paused at the chorus. The melody rose just enough to carry the promise forward, then settled again. The track did not try to outshine the rest of the album. Instead, it anchored the collection with its calm certainty. In that sense, the song marked a clear shift. It showed an artist willing to let maturity speak for itself rather than compete with the past. Over repeated listens, the piece revealed small details, a subtle harmony in the bridge, a breath taken before the final line. These choices kept the music intimate, even when played at full volume. The overall effect was one of quiet arrival, the sound of someone who had traveled far and now stood still long enough to notice what truly mattered.
You who smiled when you're in pain.
That sense of arrival came through clearly in how the song unfolded its parts. The verses moved forward like measured steps along a familiar path, each one adding details from a life shaped by change and endurance. They sketched scenes of departure and return, of words left unsaid and promises tested by time, building a personal history without rushing to explain or soften its edges. A simple guitar figure anchored these sections, allowing the voice to carry the weight of recollection. Short phrases alternated with longer ones, creating space for the listener to feel the accumulation of years rather than merely hear about them. The details stayed grounded in ordinary moments, a cup left on a windowsill or a road stretching empty at dusk, so the narrative gained its strength from restraint. The chorus arrived with a shift in tone and texture, the band locking into a steadier pulse that supported the central offer. Here the narrator extended a quiet form of guardianship, a presence that would remain without claiming credit or seeking praise. The lines avoided any hint of dramatic rescue, focusing instead on simple constancy, the kind that shows up day after day and asks for nothing in return. That distinction mattered. The chorus did not promise to erase the past recounted in the verses, but to stand alongside it, offering balance through its plain language and even delivery. Central imagery surfaced most clearly in these repeated lines, where protection appeared as an open hand rather than a shield. The words evoked a figure who had learned to wait without impatience, to listen without interrupting, to remain when others might turn away. This image gained power from its lack of ornament, letting the listener recognize the offer as both modest and profound. As the structure moved between these sections, the contrast grew sharper yet never jarring. The verses kept their intimate scale, while the chorus expanded just enough to carry its message outward. The result was a song that honored personal history and then moved beyond it, settling into the steady rhythm of guardianship that required no extra flourish to be felt.
I'll be your angel and call. I'll be your man. The greatest honor of all as your guardian.
That same steady rhythm has carried the song forward through the years, inviting fresh ears to discover what earlier ones already sensed. Listeners often return to it in moments of quiet transition, whether after a loss or during the slow work of rebuilding. Its measured pace offers a kind of companionship that does not ask for dramatic change, only presence. Over time, the track has settled into playlists and late-night reflections alike, its understated vow proving durable where flashier anthems fade. Many hear the lyrics first as a declaration between lovers. The direct address and protective imagery lend themselves easily to that reading, and some interpreters have placed the song squarely in the realm of romantic devotion. Yet the words resist confinement to a single relationship. They speak instead of a broader guardianship, one that can encompass friendship, self-care, or even the patient watchfulness a person extends toward their own uncertain future. This misreading persists because the melody wraps its promises in warmth, but repeated listening reveals a steadier, less possessive stance. The endurance of that vow comes from its refusal to overstate. Where other songs from the same era leaned on grand gestures or explicit resolution, this one simply holds its ground. The arrangement stays close to the body, the voice never straining for effect, and that restraint has kept the track relevant long after its initial release. New audiences, encountering it decades later, still recognize the same modest strength that first drew them in. It offers no sweeping solutions, only the assurance that someone or something will remain. That quality continues to draw people back. They play the song when words feel insufficient or when they need a reminder that endurance can be gentle rather than fierce. The misunderstanding as pure romance has not diminished its reach. If anything, the wider interpretation has allowed it to travel further. Listeners carry its promise into their own lives, adjusting the meaning slightly each time without breaking the original shape. The track endures because it leaves room for those adjustments, its quiet commitment intact beneath every new hearing.